First of all, bitch, you got me fucked up.
Guys, welcome back to the DeFine Feminine podcast. Today, I'm outside by the pool. I decided to kind of continue the whole me being outside in nature kind of thing because I really do like being outside and being able to record content because I feel like a lot of content is recorded indoors and it could get really complacent and boring after a while. So here I am. I decided to throw on my blue unit as I did in the first podcast 'cause I really did like the way it looked if you're tuning in on YouTube. But if you're listening to me on Spotify or Anchor, I have on a nice curly blue wig. It's definitely giving me Leo vibes, very lioness vibes. And I really love when I have hair like this because it just fits my face so nicely. Today I wanted to talk about the fact that a lot of people struggle with not being able to be accepted by their parents. It's something that I really struggled with because I'm the only child, and I wanted to come and talk to you guys about that because honestly, as an adult, you have to learn how to fend for yourself. And that doesn't just mean paying your bills. That doesn't just mean figuring out where you want to live and shit like that. It's also being able to live without your parents. I feel like a lot of people, once their parents are dead, that's when they're trying to find themselves. And I feel like I kind of got a head start on figuring out how it would feel if my parents weren't active in my life. And at first, I'm not even gonna lie, it was definitely not easy to be able to navigate not having my parents, but I feel like my parents kind of checked out once I began to find myself as a woman, once I began to make my own decisions, and they looked at it as disrespect. If you guys don't know, I am of the West Indian descent. My parents are both Antiguan natives. So they look at you doing your own shit as disrespect. They don't like when you have a mind of your own, even if you're not curse them out. Because honestly, I've literally witnessed people curse their parents out live. And I've never done it because I just feel like I never want to take it that far. But honestly, my parents definitely deserve a lot of cussing. They do deserve to be disrespected, but I've learned to raise above a lot of people's bullshit because I can definitely see when people have things that they just won't ever admit to, and that's their loss. Because when you don't admit to certain shit and people are able to see right through you, it's definitely something that you're gonna have to deal with in the long run. Please hold on, I gotta drink some coffee. And it's literally 2 in the afternoon and I'm drinking coffee. I'm a New Yorker all the way through. I love coffee any time of day. But anyways, so this all started when I first moved to Houston on my own. I was having a lot of issues with my mom, living with her. I didn't have a door on my room, so this was during a time where I was going through a lot mentally. I was working at Sephora at the time, and this was my dream job, but I was going through so much shit with niggas, with friends, and then going home to my mom. So I would find any way to not be home. I just remember always finding someone's house to chill at, whether it's my homegirl's house or I was going to some nigga's house that I was talking to at the time to just sleep over there, to just not be home. And I feel like that shit is a form of escapism. And, instead of my mom trying to figure out how to resolve that, she definitely made it worse by being very angry and very invasive and very I don't know, she just never found a productive solution to why I just didn't want to be home, And I feel like for me, if I was a parent and I seen that my kid was never home, coming home after work and she would just pack her shit and leave, I would try to figure out what the fuck is wrong with me. Why the fuck doesn't my kid want to be around me? And this was an everyday thing. It wasn't just a one day thing, I'll disappear for a week. No, this is everyday routine. Work, come home, pack my bag and dip out, and then come back in the morning I was on my grown shit because I just felt like my mom just didn't respect my boundaries, and I just didn't feel like it was a cohesive environment for me to live in. So I just went to other people's houses and kind of formed my own family. And it was really shitty because it kind of started this whole cycle of me finding family elsewhere instead of enjoying my family. But it also taught me that family is not by blood, it's by the people that respect you and the people that make you feel comfortable at home. And I just never really felt comfortable at home growing up. There was always a lot of arguments either between me and my mom, or between my mom and my dad, or between, just, yeah, it was just a lot of back and forth, a lot of banter. So I say that to say, when I was working at Sephora, I think I only worked there for like 8 months. And then I ended up working at a hospital. And I kind of got tired of like jumping from job to job. Like I was kind of getting to a point where like I wanted my own shit. I wanted to start my own business. But like I had a business at the time, like I was doing hair. But I definitely wanted to like solidify the business even more and like do something more concrete. So I ended up quitting the hospital job, and I ended up doing the hair thing full time. And that shit was crazy. Like I was literally working every single day. I still didn't have my sense of independence, even though I had my own business. I was still being treated like a child, you know. I was still being invaded of my privacy. I was still being taken advantage of, like my mom just never believed in going to therapy for herself. So it was always me having to like, I guess, take her back. Like, when you just have like a man that just doesn't do right by you, but like they come and coddle you with gifts and shit. So like you just always take them back. Like I've always felt like that's the type of relationship that I have with my mom. And with that being said, I eventually got to a point where I was like, yo, I want my own apartment. Like the fact that I didn't have a fucking door on my room, that created so much chaos because like I couldn't slam my fucking door. There was no separation from the argument. Like my room was right next to the kitchen. So whenever my mom, she was upset about whatever, even if it had nothing to do with me, she was going through her own personal shit in her relationship, the pots would be slamming, she'll be stomping next door in the kitchen. Like it's always like some type of like orchestra going on in the next room. And I'm like, bro, I need my own place because I feel like I can't be a woman here because it conflicts with the amount of energy that my mom brings, and it's not good energy. And I always wanted a home where I'm able to like feel loved. I'm always wanted a home where like I'm able to feel at peace and be myself. And I just never really felt that with her. So I was like, you know what? I need to get my own place. So at the time I was talking to my homegirl that lived in Houston. Please hold, I need to drink a little bit more coffee. This shit's so good. I made sure to not put too much creamer because the creamer makes it taste like milk. But yeah, so my homegirl in Houston ended up telling me about like the living situation down here. Like it was hella cheap at the time. This is back in 2018. So I came out here to visit. I remember I came out to visit for my birthday, and I loved it. I was like, yo, I'm moving. Like, the end of this year, I'm fucking moving. Either the end of next year or within a year. I think within 1 year, I ended up, like, busting out, like, 1 year of, like, doing hair consistently. Like, I was working every day. I hosted sales. Like, I was, like, Boss Bae 101, okay? I was definitely doing my thing to try to make sure I stacked up my money and still had money to survive in New York because a lot of weed was being smoked at that time, okay? So I needed to make sure that I had the funds to do so. And so literally I moved in 2018. So I guess I started working at Sephora in 2017 or 2016. I can't remember. Honestly, like my memory is shot right now. Like I said, a lot of weed has been smoked. But a few years ago, I ended up moving out to Texas within a year of me manifesting, I need to get the fuck out of this room. Because I was basically renting out a room And I was doing hair in the same room and living in the room and dealing with my mom in the same room. She had her own room and her own door, but it didn't feel like it because anytime she was bothered by anything, I was a target. I was a punching bag. So I was like, all right. So I started saving up. I was in a relationship at the time, and my partner, thank God, he cheated on me. I'm so happy I didn't bring his ass down here because I would have been fucked. Everything happens for a reason. Like, sometimes you really think that you're missing out on someone because you are not able to make moves with them, but sometimes they be slowing you up. Okay, and you just got to accept the fact that some people just don't deserve to be in your puzzle piece. Like, if it don't fit, don't try to cut it and try to form it into the places that it doesn't fit, because if it don't fit, it don't fit. So I'm really happy that I left him behind. I ended up still pursuing the move. I moved. I stayed with my homegirl's family for a little bit, and then we ended up getting our own apartment. And me and my mom's relationship kind of like, we were still in contact, but I just always remember like the first month that I moved, because we ended up moving into our first apartment within, I think, like 3 months of me being in Houston. So I moved to Houston September 2018, and then we moved into our actual apartment in like October, November, right? And it took a few months because honestly we were trying to find the right place. We didn't want to get something too expensive because this was our first apartment, so we just wanted to like feel it out. Now that we know how apartments work, we definitely won't go that exact route, but the rent was pretty doable. We definitely could have gotten something way better, but that's a part of like learning how to like grow up and just kind of going through all of the options and taking your time and like being more strategic. But like at that time we thought that we were doing shit right and we was doing shit all wrong. We ended up in an apartment with mad roaches and shit, but that's not the point. I definitely learned how to read reviews after that because that shit was crazy. But so I just remember when we first moved in, you know, like you have to have your security, your deposit and all that shit. And like I said, I was in contact with my mom this whole time, you know, like we were talking, but not to the point where we were on the phone, because my mom is the type of person that like, she will know that I'm with someone, like I'm hanging out with someone, and she would still want to conduct a whole conversation. And I'm like, no, like I literally live with someone now. I can't be on the phone like I used to. I can't be your therapist like I used to. Like, you need to actually go to therapy. Like I can't carry on with the same shit that I was doing in New York, because this is a whole new ball game. So pretty much I asked my mom for rent because I wasn't working. It was really hard for me to find a job because I wasn't driving and shit. And this was before they had like remote jobs. So literally I asked my mom to send me rent money. And you know, this lady sent me $100. I wish I had the Cash App not even the Cash App, the Zelle payment to show you guys that this lady really sent me $100 for rent, and my rent was definitely $650, and she knew it was $650. And I feel like, because she was like, oh, you asked me the day before, you need to let me know in advance. And I'm like, yo, my mom, she has a great job. Personally, I don't give a fuck what you're going through. And maybe it may sound insensitive to some people, but when I moved, I didn't ask my mom for $1. Like, some people, when they move anywhere, they want their parents' help and shit like that. I literally moved by myself, okay? I saved up the money and worked by myself. Like, I think he even shocked her that I was still able to, because I said September. Like, September is the day that I'm moving, and that's that. And when that lady sent me $100, that shit broke my heart so bad, because I'm like, bro, I barely asked you for shit, and you put me in a weird predicament, because now I gotta find $500 out of nowhere, you know? So at this point, I'm already late on my rent. I had to figure it out. And I remember asking my mom's husband now, but it was her boyfriend at the time. I asked him for money. He ended up sending me the money, and she was furious. Like, she was highly upset that someone helped me. And it really put things into perspective, because it's like, as my parent, especially the fact that my dad isn't like super active in my life, like my dad is a narcissist, so literally, like, so it's not like I have a lot of people to rely on if there was an emergency, because I don't really have much emergencies. Like, I don't call my parents to bail me out. I don't have like domestic disputes where my parents gotta come and save me. Like, it's very rare that my parents have to help me, so like when I asked her for the money, and her excuse was the reason why she didn't give it to me is because I asked the day before. It really broke me. So I asked my second parent, and she was upset, and it put things into perspective, because I'm just like, do you want me to suffer? Like, do you want me to fall on my face before I really didn't understand it at the time, because I feel like I had to continuously get slapped in my face by her for me to realize, like, oh shit, she really doesn't want me to win. Okay? But she wants me to be there for her in every aspect. And that was really a lot for me at the time. I ended up moving back to New York, and my mom ended up getting married, and she literally had to beg me to come to the wedding, because I was not here for this wedding. Okay, she's been in a relationship for 10 plus years, and I feel like it's way overdue, and me and her weren't in the best place, like, but I just wanted to make peace, so I ended up going. And I ended up having to live with my dad, which was super awkward because, I didn't have the funds to get my own apartment moving back to New York. Like I said, I was doing hair in New York, but when I moved to Texas, it was really hard for me to find clients to do hair. So when I moved back in with my dad, it was like a whole new ball game. Like, he made it seem as if like he really had my back. When I first moved back, he ended up taking me to Antigua, which is, like I said, where we're from. And it was beautiful. Like, I was like, oh, my dad is going to be there for me. If I ever need anything, he's going to support me financially, and no, it wasn't that. He wasn't able to support me financially, physically, emotionally, nothing. Like, my dad is like basically brain dead. I love my dad. My dad definitely has a soft spot in my heart. But he is not mentally capable of being a parent. Like, he doesn't have the emotional attention span to be a parent. He doesn't have the emotional intelligence to be a parent. He's just a provider. I know if there was a situation where, if we're on good terms, because he's definitely extremely spiteful, and I'll get to that eventually. I know if there was a situation where I was in desperate need of help, and I go to him and ask him for money, he will be able to provide it for me. But we will have to be on really good terms, because he's one of those type of people where it's like, if you cross me, then I'm not speaking to you. Like, as if I'm like I'm a stranger, like I'm an enemy. And that's definitely something that I experienced with both of my parents, to be honest, where there's no unconditional love. There's no, oh, despite, what you said, let's work through it. Like, the way that they do, more so my mom, because my dad is one of those type of people where he's like, listen, if you just cross me, that's it. Like, it's cut and dry. Like, he's a tourist to the fullest. He don't give a fuck. You basically could be on your deathbed. He's going to blink at you, okay? But my mom now, like, she's one of those type of people where it's like, once you hurt her feelings, that's it. Like, and it's interesting, because I feel like I will have to coddle her in order for her to realize that she's wrong, but I also will have to like stoop down to her level, and I'm not interested in that shit. I feel like you are conscious enough to know what you're doing, and when you are not prioritizing your only child and making sure that your child is doing well, you're not trying to make sure that your child is in the best situation financially, mentally, physically, emotionally, like, then you're not a good parent. You understand? I'm not saying that you have to hold my hand through life and make sure everything is perfect, because I have to learn on my own, which is why I started off by saying, it's not about just paying bills and shit like that. It's more so like you just making sure that your kid is good and you guys are on talking terms in case they need something from you, in case of an emergency. Like, my emergency contact is my boyfriend. even in New York, my emergency contact was my boyfriend and my friend. Like, I don't have parents that I can rely on like that, because they're so egotistical that they can't even put their pride aside in order to make sure that they're there for me. And I feel like that makes you a shitty ass parent, you know? So I just want to talk about that, because literally there's been so much that's transpired this year alone, which is why I ended up moving to Texas. Like, I was living in an apartment that my mom had. Her name was on the lease. I was a co-leaser. Me and my boyfriend ended up moving into the apartment in the beginning of the pandemic. And pretty much we remained with her on the lease and me as a co-leaser. And me and my mom got into a really heated argument. When was that? I think right after my birthday in July. And she ended up, hold on. Yeah. She ended up fucking telling me that she's going to take her name off the lease and I need to figure out where I'm going. Which is hella cold. I think that was the most insensitive shit that you can do to a human being. Let's fuck the fact that I'm your daughter. The fact that she did that is so cold, so insensitive, so inconsiderate. I don't know how you can live with yourself to put your kid in a predicament. And, you know, I'm an adult, right? Let's just face it. I'm not a baby. I definitely know how to fend for myself. I know how to reroute when shit goes left. But you went out your way to put me in an uncompromising situation without any prep, okay? I had to move out of my apartment within 3 weeks. And I feel like, with that being said, you really don't fucking need your parents. Especially like when they put you in situations that are just so inhumane, okay? I feel like your parents are supposed to be your protectors. Fuck a boyfriend, fuck a husband. Your parents are supposed to be your first protectors. And if your parents are not making sure that you are protected and you are in a space where you are safe, then you're just another person on the street. Like, I'm talking to my boyfriend the other day, and we were talking about the fact that, like, media and, like, you know, movies make it seem as if you have to have parents all your life. You know, you have to have this perfect cookie cutter relationship with your mom and dad and your grandma and grandpa. Like, it's not made out for every single person on this earth to have parents that gave birth to them. Which is why we have people that adopt children and they love on them sometimes even more than their original parents. Because some people just don't have the emotional capacity to be good to their kid. You understand? Especially like once they surpass that infant stage where they're no longer in control of their movements. You got to learn how to put your ego aside and learn how people are as adults in their full form when they're in their power. You know, I think a lot of people, and especially parents, now that we're on the topic, they get intimidated when their kids are in their power. They feel as if they're trying to demean them or make them feel small. But it's like, it's not always about you. And I feel like when you have a lot of like back and forth with your parents, like you're spending your life legacy, like trying to make the perfect relationship with your mom and dad, like sometimes it's best to just let that shit go. Because it starts to show in your appearance. Like, you start to look like the child. You walk around sad. Like, you just have this sad demeanor about you because you want your parents to love you. You want your parents to, like, boost your confidence. Excuse me. I mean, you want your parents to, like, support you. And sometimes they just don't have it. So when you don't get that shit, you feel as if like you're not winning. And the best way for you to win is to let them fucking go. To show them that you don't need them. You don't need to be coddled. You understand? There's a whole world out here for you to discover. And I feel like a lot of people, they lose out on the most beautiful things in the world because their parents are missing out on doing what is needed to nurture and to ground them. You know, not to humble them, but to ground them. You need to be grounded so that you can, like, spring up. You know, like, you're like a plant. And you should be able to learn how to navigate the world from a young age. And then once you become an adult, Your parents should be able to bring you light, peace, happiness, love, and it shouldn't be forced. It shouldn't feel like, you guys are always at war. It shouldn't feel like your parents are jealous of your success, or they're trying to bring you back down, or they're putting mad dead weight onto you because they see that you're growing. I feel like that shit is so insensitive and just so like it's sad as fuck. It's really sad, and I don't respect it. So that's one of the reasons why I decided to depart from my parents and just enjoy my life outside of them. I know the holidays is coming up, and a lot of people feel as if they need to be around family and shit like that. And one thing I've learned is that family is who you gravitate to naturally, not who you're being forced to be around. When I first moved here, I realized who my family really is, because when I moved, I didn't get no help from my mom, obviously. Like I said, I haven't spoken to her since July of 2021. And it's been great, to be honest. I feel so much lighter not having to deal with the bullshit, not having to pretend that, I'm happy to deal with everything that she comes with. Like, it doesn't take away from the fact that I love my mom dearly. I wish her the best. I hope that, she's happy wherever she is. But I also feel as if, like, sometimes that weight, it really brings you down. And I was dealing with a lot of fucking depression, Like, I literally stopped smoking as much. I smoke once a month now, so I'm not even going to sit here and lie to y'all. But once a month compared to 3 times a day is crazy, bitch. Like, I was out here bugging out, blowing through backwards, going crazy, trying to numb myself through every situation. And I just learned how to just enjoy life and to embrace the things that I can't control. And, just enjoy the things that are free. Because sometimes I don't have the money to, be lavish and shit like that. But I do enjoy the fact that I don't have no one calling my phone, stressing me out about shit that has nothing to do with me. I don't have nobody calling my phone, making me feel bad for living my life. Because you know how parents like to make you feel bad for not being present in their lives, as if, like, you owe them anything. You understand? Like, sometimes you just need to break free and just do your own thing and figure out what makes you happy. Because, honestly, family can really be the demise of who you are. They can be your downfall. That's really what I wanted to say. So I just wanted to come to you guys and talk to you guys about that. Because this is not the time to pedal backwards and try to find closure in dead relationships with people that don't give a fuck about you and your wellness, with people that cannot be accountable for the things that they've done in your life. It's definitely time to just keep moving forward, continue doing the things that makes you happy, and just allow people to, if they do come around and they're able to be accountable for their actions, and you see that they're willing to change in order to be in your presence, because it is an honor to be in your presence, then do so. But other than that, don't ever try to stoop to anybody's level just to fill that empty void that you making up in your head. Because honestly, sometimes when I think about it, I be feeling like I'm empty, and I'm like, bitch, no, you're full. You don't need nobody. You don't need nobody coming and stressing you out or making you feel like you don't have certain things. You have everything. Everything that is in your space are tools to bring you happiness. And if it's not bringing you happiness, then you need to reroute, But that's all I have to say about that. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you guys in my next one.